Hey, Carl again. Okay, so thanks for stopping by. All right, today's training we're going to talk a little bit about what do you actually say to the seller, okay, to find out if they're really qualified or not for the program. So basically what you're looking for, like we mentioned before, we're looking for that motivated seller, that person whose sole thought in life is I have got to sell my house and I got to do it right now, okay? The type of person we're looking for, a lot of times are people like divorce, divorce situations. Unfortunately, maybe a death in the family, something like a, perhaps maybe they're have to move, out of state because they're getting a new job or something like that. Another situation would be somebody who's had their home on the market for a really long time and it hasn't sold. It's expired from the market from the MLS, and now they're looking for somebody to go ahead and buy it because they just couldn't get a regular buyer. Another situation would be something where they've got something uniquely wrong with it, like it's a fire damaged home. If you've got a home that's been ravaged by fire, a lot of times they're getting the insurance money and they just want to go ahead and get rid of it, and that's okay too. We can take those properties too. Okay, so the question is, what is it about this situation that makes it so difficult that nobody else will buy it? Okay. Or what's the speed in which they need to get it done? Now that's where we step in. We step in because we're willing to go ahead and pay a price for a property, depending on their property. Of course, oftentimes we may be able to pay full purchase price, but primarily it's in a distressed situation. So how do you ask a question that people are not necessarily willing to give you the answer to? Well, the way that I found out how to do this over the last 16 years, through a lot of trial and error, okay, a lot of it has to do with the amount of sincerity in which you put it, interest into the questions. Remember, we talked about the three questions you need to know. Number one, where are you going to move when you do sell? Number two, when did you need to move by? And then third, what happens if you don't get your price? The easiest way to answer those questions or ask those questions would be in this format, okay? So you're either face-to-face or you are on the phone. And you say, okay, well, Mr. Seller, this is a great looking house. I can't imagine why you'd want to leave. Where are you going to go when you do sell? Okay. Now there's an element of sincerity there. You have to feel it. You really have to talk to them and really want to know where is it that you're going. I mean, for the most part, people don't sell their homes on a whim. I mean, they don't wake up one day and say, gee whiz, I want to sell. They think about it and then they really put a lot of thought into it and then they go ahead and sell. Okay, so you really want to get down to that and say, well, wow, when you do so, where are you going to go? All right, act interested. And sometimes, you even have to fake it if you're not particularly interested. Okay, it's helpful if you are, but that sometimes is a skill you have to learn to really get interested in people. People love talking about themselves, and they will if you let them. So you ask them, I can't imagine, where would you go if you did sell? It's a great looking house, The next question, boy, this place, I'm looking at it and I'm just wondering, when did you need to move by? If one of our buyers wanted to buy this home and close in the next 30 to 45 days, would that pose a problem for you? Okay, that is a great closing question right there. Okay, if you ask, well, when do you have to sell? When do you need to be there by? Okay, and they say, well, I don't care. If it never sells, it doesn't make a difference to me. So, okay, well, so let me ask you this. If I had a buyer, if one of our buyers wanted to buy this property, okay, and move in 30 to 45 days, if Carl wanted to buy it and move in or have some people move in 30 to 45 days, would that pose a problem for you? Okay, if they say, well, no, it wouldn't pose a problem at all. Perfect, so far so good. If they kind of feign and they're kind of acting like they don't really care or something like that, a good way to answer that is to say, well, look, let me ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, okay, if 1 was like, I really want to get this home sold and I'm wanting to sell it like right now, bring over, what it takes to get it done, okay? And 10 was like, hey, I'm only going to sell it if I get my price. Where do you think you'd be on that, okay? I coach new agents and stuff all the time on how to ask these questions, and that oftentimes is the easiest way to flush out a person's motivation on a scale of 1 to 10. Most of the time, if they're really motivated, they're going to say anywhere from 1 to say 4, okay? Those are the kind of numbers you're looking for. If they say, probably about a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably not somebody we're going to be able to help because they're really not all that motivated. Remember, the motivation here is critical. It's even more critical than the house. I'm not so much concerned about 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,400 square feet, or anything like that. I want to know about their motivation. Why do you need to sell right now? Okay? Then the third question, all right, obviously what happens if you don't get your price, all right? So, I'm just thinking, your price on there is $99,000. If you don't mind me asking, Mr. Seller, how did you determine that sales price? Now, scrunch up your face a little bit when you ask it, okay? And if you're on the phone or something like that, that's a great way to convey, you're not sure about that price, okay? And they're going to say, well, we pulled comps, or that's what we need, or, whatever, okay? A great way to figure out this whole issue of price, okay? You don't really have to go too far into it with them. You don't have to ask them a lot about price. But what you can say is, how did you determine that sales price? Oh, well, we pulled comps and we did this and we did that, or, that's what we need. Oh, okay. So then do you have any wiggle room when negotiating with the buyer? Now, a lot of times they'll tell you, well, it depends. It depends if you got an agent. It'll depend on what you're asking. It'll depend. I don't want to give it away. Oh, no, I don't want to give it away either. Don't worry about that. So what happens if you don't get your price? Now that right there is going to tell you, it's going to take a, if you can imagine, you got a little gut meter here, okay? That's going to peg out the gut meter. That takes a lot of guts to ask them that question. What happens if you don't get your price? Because now you're approaching the very core of the issue. If they can afford to sell their home, okay, then, and sell it because they've got to right now, all right, it's going to be contingent a lot of times upon the price. If they are extremely motivated, okay, they're going to sell it because, gosh darn it, whatever it takes, I got to sell it, okay? I have got to get rid of this property, okay? If I don't get my sales price, I'm going to be in a world of hurt. That's the kind of guy we're looking for, all right? If they say, well, I'll just stay here, probably not somebody we're going to be able to help, okay? So what you can do is you can maximize your searching capacity and maximize your chances of getting a deal through if you want to go ahead and spend the time to ask those questions. Those 3 questions, using that dialogue, you'll find a lot of great ways to go ahead and get to the bottom of the issues right away. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, again, feel free to email me. Thank you for looking for us. We really do appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks.